Thank you very much. I'm really excited about the amazing speakers featuring this year. Good morning, Sepideh. It is an honor to have you in Girl Ups Leadership Summit 2022.
Good morning. Thank you. I feel honored to be here.
Your career as an activist and actress has us fascinated. Would you share with us how have your personal experiences, in particular in your immigration story and exposure to refugee camps, impacted on your advocacy skills?
Yeah, I think all of our backstories, our upbringing, our experiences influence how we live in the world, how we exist in the world, and what we do with our time here on this planet. And I think growing up with a family who was forced to flee their homeland, who was forced to sort of hop around for years, different refugee camps in different countries. I was born in one of these refugee camps, and when I was still a baby, we came here. So from the time that I was in the womb, I felt a sense of displacement. And growing up was a little bit, my challenges were clearly, I feel, a bit more privileged than my parents, their challenges. But nevertheless, being in a country where your family doesn't feel at home and is not embraced necessarily, that creates a bit of cognitive dissonance. Growing up in a culture, in a household where there's such warmth and love and inclusivity, and then going to school in a system that doesn't embrace you in the same way. And the values seem different from the ones that you grow up with. When I was younger, this caused a lot of cognitive dissonance and pain. But as an adult and sort of finding my path through my work as an artist and as an activist, I see in hindsight that this was invaluable and the most important experience or a set of experiences that I could have had, because it gives me a deeper sense of not only purpose, but empathy and a drive to sort of advocate for, marginalized minority groups that otherwise might not be as popular all the time. I felt like I was a tiny little expression of that idea of a sort of, I guess, black sheep or someone that was not embraced by their community. And it breaks my heart personally to see it happen. And so I think that's what fuels me from my experiences is, sure, growing up with stories from my family, but my own sense of displacement growing up in this country, which, whose principles stand on sort of equality and justice for all, but in practice that isn't always the case. So I hope that I can use my voice and platform and my time here to bring more of that equality and justice for as many people as I can reach.
It was such a brave story, the one you just shared with us. It is that building storytelling skills can be essential in effective activism. How have you built your abilities as a storyteller and used the skills in your advocacy, especially speaking about your work in the New York's Mayor Office of Immigrant Affairs and International Rescue Committee?
I think we're all naturally storytellers. I mean, every day and every moment, we're either telling ourselves or telling each other stories. So I think that it's a innate ability that we all have. What you mentioned is using it towards advocacy. And I think this does take a little bit of crafting. I feel incredibly fortunate because I get to spend most of my time as an artist. And in this moment in my life, I started as a musician, and I'm now primarily working on acting work, but I'm still obviously a musician. And in both worlds, you use other people's sort of minds, hearts, spirits, and you use your own vehicle, your own self, to tell other people's stories and tell stories that you believe in. And so in working on my own craft as a musician and as an actor, I feel like it's not only made me a better storyteller, it's made me a better human being, because when you can get inside of other people's, as I mentioned, heads and heart space, you understand them better. And I think that's the root of advocacy, is trying to bring a sense of understanding to a larger group of people. The work that I do with IRC and the work that I've done and do with MOIA, New York City Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs, and other organizations, I think really rely on getting people to care. And the only way that we can care is through connecting to other human beings through stories. We've had stories probably since the beginning of human life, evidence since for 36,000 years, where they found, paintings in a cave in France. And since then, as we know, this has developed and there's been more and more evidence. But I'm confident that before then, we were still finding ways to tell stories with each other in order to understand, in order to communicate. And I think, especially in this day and age where stories are getting shorter and shorter, bite-sized, more digital, more sort of disposable in a way, I feel a strong sense of responsibility and obligation to sort of invest in a longer form of storytelling, where people can really connect and have time to connect to another human being's experience. And I find that whenever I believe in what I'm doing, that sense of belief for anybody, not just me, is contagious. So I try to invest as much as I can in understanding the stories that I'm telling, understanding the people that I'm bringing awareness to, and in turn, hopefully having that sort of investment and belief resonate with others.
You have a great heart. And talking about your actress career, as someone who plays Gigi in the L World Generation Q, why do you believe representation in the media is so important? And was it for you like to depict both a queer and Iranian character, beautifully intersecting these two identities?
I mean, I think most of us are aware of how important representation is. How, when you don't see your experiences, or when people are trying to, in a way, sort of exclude certain groups, certain ethnicities, certain people of different backgrounds, experiences, it makes us feel like we don't deserve to be here. And that was, personally, my experience growing up was I always felt like a visitor here, even though technically this is my home. And so having a character who is not identified by her sexual identity, who is living so unapologetically and so fearlessly, so confidently in her own skin, it inspires me, because it makes me want to be more of myself. And in turn, the sort of outpour of gratitude and praise from all over the world, especially women and girls from Southwest Asian, North African countries, from Jordan, Iran, Egypt, Afghanistan, Saudi Arabia, everywhere. And even people from these backgrounds who are living in the States, who come from cultures or backgrounds that don't necessarily embrace their sexual identities. That visibility is invaluable, because it gives us the confidence to be more of who we actually are. When we don't see this in the media, when we don't see this on television, film, in books or news pieces, it makes us feel like, again, like we're the black sheep, like we're outsiders, when actually we've come to realize that we are just as prominent. Our existence is just as important, and it's just as sort of pronounced and relevant, and it's not the minority anymore, we're coming to realize. And so playing Gigi has been such a pleasure and treat and honor, because, as I mentioned, it's not just about what she represents, it's also about who she is. So having this kind of character exist on television, who isn't necessarily, her entire storyline doesn't revolve around her queerness, it involves her struggles, her life, her day-to-day life, I think that it has empowered and will continue to empower the queer community, women from all different backgrounds, and she's just such an inspiration, I think.
She's just an inspiration, just as you yourself are.
Oh.
Thank you so much for sharing us your story, Sepideh, and for sharing us how you live your advocacy as a storyteller and as an actress. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you, Cristina. It's such a pleasure. Thank you.